Part 1. The Double Shift. Dream. The clock on the wall showed 9:47 p.m. when Lisa finally flipped the open sign to closed at Danny's diner. Her feet were killing her. Those cheap sneakers she bought last month were already falling apart, but new shoes would have to wait. Again. She pushed a strand of brown hair out of her face and looked around the empty diner. Red vinyl booths lined the windows and the black and white checkered floor needed another mopping. The smell of coffee and fried food hung in the air like it always did. This place had been her second home for almost 8 years now. 8 years. Sometimes it felt like yesterday when she first walked through that door, desperate for any job that would pay the bills. Other times, it felt like a lifetime. Lisa grabbed the spray bottle and started wiping down the tables again. Table 6, still, had sticky syrup from the pancakes that family ordered earlier. Table 2 had coffee rings that wouldn't come off no matter how hard she scrubbed. The same stains, different day. Another glamorous evening in paradise. She whispered to herself with a tired smile. The bell above the door jingled, and her heart sank. Not another late customer. She turned around, ready to explain they were closed, but it was just her friend Maya from the kitchen. "Girl, you know you don't have to clean those tables 3 times, Maya said, hanging up her apron. "They're not going to get any cleaner." "I know," Lisa replied. "Just thinking, I guess." "About what? Your hot date with Netflix and a frozen dinner?" Lisa laughed. "Something like that." Maya grabbed her purse from behind the counter. "You coming to my cousin's birthday party this weekend? There's going to be music, dancing, good food. You need to get out more." "I wish I could, but I'm working the weekend shift." Julie called in sick again. That girl calls in sick more than she shows up. When's the last time you took a day off? Lisa had to think about it, really think about it. "I don't remember." Maya shook her head. "That's not healthy, honey. You're 34, not 64. You gotta live a little." After Maya left, the diner felt even emptier. Lisa finished cleaning and walked over to the old jukebox in the corner. It hadn't worked in years, but she liked to pretend sometimes. She put her hand on the glass and imagined what song she'd pick if it could play. The silence in the diner was complete now. No sizzling from the grill, no coffee pot bubbling, no customers talking, just silence. And in that silence, Lisa did something she'd been doing every night for months. She walked to the small stage area near the back of the diner. It wasn't really a stage, just a slightly raised platform where they sometimes put a Christmas tree or decorations. But to Lisa, it was her spotlight. She cleared her throat and began to hum. Then quietly at first, she started to sing. Her voice filled the empty space, bouncing off the walls and windows. It was a song her grandmother used to sing when Lisa was little. Something about holding on to dreams even when the world tries to take them away. As she sang, her voice grew stronger, more confident. In this empty diner with no one watching, she could be whoever she wanted to be. Not the tired waitress with sore feet and stained uniforms. Not the single mom counting every penny. Just someone with a voice that could make people stop and listen. She closed her eyes and imagined a real audience. People sitting at tables not for coffee and pie, but to hear her sing. She imagined applause, maybe even a standing ovation. She imagined someone walking up after and saying, "You have something special." But when she opened her eyes, it was just the empty diner again. Lisa walked back to the counter and grabbed her things. As she reached for her keys, a piece of paper fell out of her apron pocket. She'd forgotten it was there. It was a flyer, wrinkled from being folded and unfolded so many times. "Riverside Community Talent Show," it said in big, bold letters. "Open to all ages. Grand prize, $500 and a chance to perform at the summer festival." She'd picked it up from the community center 3 weeks ago when she was there paying her water bill. At first, she'd thrown it away, but then she'd gone back and pulled it out of the trash. She'd been carrying it around ever since, reading it during her breaks, imagining what it would be like. But imagination was all it would ever be. Real people like her didn't enter talent shows. Real people worked double shifts and worried about rent money and didn't have time for foolish dreams. She folded the flyer again and put it back in her pocket. The drive home took 15 minutes through quiet streets. Her apartment was small, but clean. 2 bedrooms, one for her and one for her 2 kids. 10-year-old Amy was asleep with her math book still open on her chest. 12-year-old Jake was supposed to be sleeping, but she could see the glow of his phone under his covers. "Lights out, kiddo," she whispered, poking her head into his room. "Just 5 more minutes, Mom." "That's what you said an hour ago. School tomorrow." She kissed both kids on the forehead and went to her own room. The mirror on her dresser showed a woman who looked older than 34. Tired eyes, laugh lines that were more from worry than joy, hands rough from years of washing dishes and serving food. But sometimes when she was singing in that empty diner, she felt different. Younger. Like the dreams she'd had before life got complicated were still possible. Lisa sat on her bed and pulled out the flyer one more time. The deadline for entries was next Friday. Just 5 more days to decide if she was brave enough or foolish enough to try. She looked at the mirror again. "What do you think?" she asked her reflection. "Are you ready to make a fool of yourself? In front of the whole town?" Her reflection didn't answer, but somewhere deep inside a small voice whispered, "What if you don't?" She folded the flyer and put it on her nightstand. Tomorrow was another day, another shift, another chance to keep dreaming in the silence of an empty diner. But maybe, just maybe, it was also a chance to do something more than dream. Part 2. The unexpected. Push Tuesday morning came too soon, like it always did. Lisa's alarm went off at 5:30 a.m., and she stumbled to the kitchen to make coffee. The kids were still sleeping, and the house was quiet except for the old refrigerator, humming in the corner. She grabbed her uniform from the laundry basket, a pink dress with Danny's Diner embroidered on the pocket. It wasn't glamorous, but it was clean and it paid the bills. Most of the time anyway. Amy wandered into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. "Morning, Mom." "Morning, sweetheart. Did you finish your homework?" "Most of it. Jake helped me with the math problems you couldn't figure out." Lisa smiled. Sometimes she felt bad that her kids had to help each other so much, but she was also proud of how they looked out for each other. "There's cereal in the cupboard and milk in the fridge. Make sure Jake eats something before school, okay?" "I will." "Mom?" "Yeah, baby." Amy hesitated. "Are you happy?" The question caught Lisa off guard. "What do you mean?" "I mean, are you happy? Like, really happy? Not just pretend happy." Lisa knelt down to Amy's level. Where was this coming from? "Why are you asking me that? I heard you singing in your room last night. You sounded different. Like you were somewhere else." "I was just humming, sweetie." It was more than humming. It was beautiful. Lisa felt her chest tighten. Even her 10-year-old daughter could see through her act. "I'm happy when I'm with you and Jake," she said, which was true, just not the whole truth. At the diner, the morning rush was crazy as usual. Construction workers wanting coffee and eggs before their shift. Office workers grabbing breakfast sandwiches to go. Retired folks who came in every day and ordered the same thing, sitting in the same booths. Lisa moved between tables like she had 1,000 times before. Coffee refills, taking orders, wiping spills, smiling even when her feet hurt. Around 10 a.m., when things finally slowed down, her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Hi, is this Lisa Thompson?" "Yes, this is Lisa." "Great. This is Jennifer from the Riverside Community Center. I'm calling about your application for the talent show." Lisa's heart stopped. "I'm sorry, what?" "Your application for our talent show next month. We're so excited to have you participate. You're scheduled to perform on Saturday, March 18th at 7 p.m. "I think there's been a mistake. I didn't submit any application." "Oh." There was a pause. "Let me check my notes. Yes, here it is. Lisa Thompson, age 34, performer category vocal. The application was submitted online last Thursday." Last Thursday. Lisa's mind raced. She was at work all day Thursday. Then she came home, made dinner, helped with homework. "Can you hold on just a second?" Lisa asked. She walked to the break room and closed the door. Her hands were shaking. "I'm back. Can you tell me what email address was used to submit the application?" "Sure. It was submitted from..." Jennifer read off Amy's school email address. Amy, sweet, innocent Amy, who asked if she was happy this morning.
Amy, who heard her singing in her room. I need to think about this, Lisa said. Oh, I hope you don't withdraw. We've already printed the programs, and honestly, we need more adult performers. It's mostly teenagers and kids. Having someone
Your age would really add something special to the show. Someone your age. Lisa didn't know if that was encouraging or depressing. How many people usually come to watch? Last year we had about 500 people. Local families, some folks from the radio station, even a few talent scouts from Nashville came through town. You never know who might be watching. 500 people. Lisa felt dizzy. I'll call you back, she managed to say before hanging up. She sat in the break room for 10 minutes staring at her phone. Part of her was furious at Amy for doing this without asking. But another part, a part she tried to keep buried, was terrified and excited at the same time. The rest of her shift dragged by. Every time she tried to focus on work, her mind wandered to the phone call. A talent show. In front of 500 people. What was Amy thinking? When she got home that evening, both kids were at the kitchen table doing homework. Amy looked up with guilty eyes. Mom, I can explain. Your room, now. Amy's shoulders dropped and she trudged to her bedroom. Lisa followed and closed the door. Amy, what were you thinking? I was thinking that you're sad all the time and you have this beautiful voice that no one ever gets to hear. That's not your decision to make. But Mom, you're always singing when you think we can't hear you. In the shower, when you're cooking, at night, when you can't sleep. And it's not just humming, you're really, really good. Lisa sat on Amy's bed. Honey, entering a talent show isn't like singing in the shower. There are hundreds of people watching. What if I mess up? What if I embarrass myself? What if you don't mess up? Amy asked, sitting next to her. What if you're amazing and everyone sees what Jake and I already know? What's that? That you're special. That you have something inside you that makes people feel better just by listening. Lisa felt tears coming. When had her little girl gotten so wise? Amy, I appreciate what you were trying to do, but I can't do this. I'm not a performer. I'm a waitress. I serve coffee and clean tables. That's what I do. That's your job, Mom. That's not who you are. That night, Lisa lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Amy's words kept echoing in her head. That's your job, not who you are. Who was she? For so many years, she'd defined herself by what she did to survive. Single mom, waitress, bill payer, homework helper. But underneath all those roles, was there something else? She thought about the way she felt when she sang in the empty diner. Free, alive, like herself, but more than herself. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hi Lisa, this is Jennifer from the community center. I know this is last minute, but I wanted you to know that if you decide to participate, we have a piano player who can accompany you, or you can perform with a backing track. We just want to make it as easy as possible for you. Hope to hear from you soon. Lisa stared at the message for a long time. Then she got up and walked to Amy's room. Her daughter was asleep, but the talent show flyer was on her nightstand. The same wrinkled flyer Lisa had been carrying in her apron. She tiptoed back to her room and sat at her small desk. She opened her laptop and found the community center website. There it was. Her application. Amy had filled out everything correctly, even written a little note in the comments section. My mom has the most beautiful voice in the world, but she doesn't think anyone wants to hear it. Please give her this chance. Lisa's eyes filled with tears. She looked at the clock. 11:47 p.m. She had until Friday to confirm or withdraw. 3 more days to decide if she was brave enough to stop hiding her voice in empty diners and let the whole world hear what her daughter already knew was special. 3 more days to figure out if she was ready to stop being just a waitress and start being whoever she was meant to be. Part 3. The preparation. Storm Wednesday morning, Lisa woke up with a knot in her stomach. She'd barely slept, tossing and turning as her mind went back and forth. 1 minute, she was imagining herself on stage, confident and amazing. The next minute, She was picturing herself forgetting the words, voice cracking, people laughing. At breakfast, Amy kept looking at her hopefully, but Lisa couldn't bring herself to talk about it yet. "Mom, did you decide?" Amy finally asked as Lisa packed lunches. "I'm still thinking, sweetheart. The deadline is Friday." "I know." At work, Maya noticed something was off right away. "Girl, you look like you haven't slept in a week. What's going on?" Lisa told her about Amy's secret application while they prepped vegetables in the kitchen. Maya stopped cutting onions and stared at her. "Wait, back up. You can sing?" "I mean, I sing sometimes. It's not a big deal." "If it's not a big deal, why do you look like you're about to throw up?" "Because the thought of getting up in front of 500 people makes me want to throw up." Maya laughed. "Honey, I've heard you humming while you work. If you sound half as good when you really sing, those people are in for a treat." "You really think so?" "I think your little girl sees something in you that you don't see in yourself, and I think maybe it's time you figured out what that is." Thursday came and went in a blur of coffee refills and burger orders. Lisa's phone kept buzzing with text messages from Jennifer at the community center, asking if she needed help with anything, reminding her about the deadline tomorrow. That evening, she sat the kids down at the kitchen table. "I need to tell you both something. Amy entered me in a talent show without asking." Jake looked up from his homework. "Cool. What are you going to do?" "That's the thing. I don't know if I'm going to do it at all." Amy's face fell. "Mom, please. You have to." "I don't have to do anything, Amy. This isn't a game. If I mess up, the whole town will know about it." "But what if you don't mess up?" Jake asked. "What if you're awesome?" "Then I guess I'll be awesome for 3 minutes and then I'll go back to being a waitress." Amy slammed her hand on the table. "Stop saying that. Stop acting like being a waitress is all you'll ever be." Lisa was shocked. Amy never raised her voice. "Amy, no, Mom. You're always talking about us following our dreams and working hard and believing in ourselves, but you don't believe in yourself at all." Tears were running down Amy's face now. "Every night I hear you singing and it's the only time you sound happy. Really happy. And I thought maybe if other people heard you, you'd remember that you're more than just someone who brings people food." Lisa felt like she'd been punched in the chest. Was she really that transparent? Jake reached over and took her hand. "Mom, you're always telling us we can do anything. Maybe it's time you listen to your own advice." Friday morning, decision day. Lisa called in sick to work, the first time in 2 years. She needed time to think without distractions. She drove to the lake outside town and sat on a bench watching the water ripple in the wind. Her phone had 3 missed calls from Jennifer at the community center. At 2 p.m., she finally called back. "Jennifer? It's Lisa Thompson." "Lisa, I was hoping you'd call. So what do you think? Are you in?" Lisa took a deep breath. "I'm in, but I'm terrified," Jennifer laughed. "That means you care about doing well. That's a good thing." "What do I need to do?" "First, we need to know what song you're planning to sing. Do you need music or will you sing with our piano player?" Lisa hadn't even thought about what song to choose. "Can I email you the details tomorrow?" "Of course." "And Lisa, I have a good feeling about this." That weekend, Lisa turned the house upside down looking for song lyrics. She had old CDs, music books from high school, even some sheet music her grandmother had left her. Finally, she found it. A song called "Stronger Than Yesterday" that she'd learned years ago but never sang for anyone. It was about overcoming struggles, finding strength you didn't know you had, becoming the person you were meant to be. It was perfect. It was terrifying. It was her story. Monday came too soon. Lisa was back at work, but her mind was somewhere else. She had exactly 3 weeks to prepare. "You're humming," Maya pointed out during their lunch break. "I am?" "Mm-hmm. And you look less like you want to throw up. Good signs." That evening, Lisa stood in her living room and sang the whole song from start to finish. Amy and Jake sat on the couch watching with huge smiles. "Mom, that gave me chills," Jake said when she finished. "Really?" "Really, really. You sound like someone on the radio." The next week was a blur of practice and panic. Lisa sang in the shower, hummed at work, practiced in the car. She even stayed late at the diner a few nights to use the empty space as her rehearsal hall, but the closer it got to the performance date, the more scared she became. "What if I forget the words?" she asked Maya during their shift. "Then you make up new ones. What if my voice cracks? Then you drink some water and keep going. What if people laugh at me?" Maya stopped wiping tables and looked at her seriously. "Lisa, what if they don't? What if they love you? What if you walk off that stage knowing you're capable of more than you ever imagined?" The questions Lisa hadn't dared to ask herself were almost scarier than her fears. 2 days before the show, her ex-husband called. He'd heard about the talent show through mutual friends. "Really, Lisa? A talent show? Isn't this a little juvenile?" "It's called following a dream, David. You might not remember what that feels like. I'm just saying, you're 34. Don't you think you should focus on realistic goals? Like what? Like getting a better job, like being practical, like not embarrassing yourself in front of the whole town." After she hung up, Lisa sat on her couch and cried. All the old doubts came flooding back. Maybe David was right, maybe she was too old, too ordinary, too late. Amy found her there an hour later. "Mom? What's wrong?" "I can't do this, baby, I'm not good enough." Amy sat next to her and took her hand. "Mom, remember when I was scared to try out for the school play?" "Yeah. You told me that being scared means something matters to you. You said if I didn't try, I'd always wonder what might have happened." Lisa looked at her daughter. "When had she gotten so wise? You also said that the people who love us want to see us shine, and the people who don't matter anyway." Saturday morning, show day. Lisa woke up at 5 a.m. with butterflies doing gymnastics in her stomach. She made coffee with shaking hands and tried to eat toast that tasted like cardboard. The kids were more excited than she was. "Mom, you're going to be amazing," Jake said at breakfast. "What if I'm not?" Amy smiled. "Then you'll be amazing at trying, and that's all anyone can ask for." Lisa spent the day alternating between practicing and panicking. She tried on 3 different outfits before settling on a simple blue dress. Not too fancy, not too casual. At 5 p.m., 2 hours before showtime, she stood in her bedroom mirror. "Okay, Lisa," she said to her reflection. "This is it. Either you're about to make the biggest fool of yourself in town history, or you're about to find out who you really are." Her reflection didn't answer, but somewhere deep inside, that small voice from 3 weeks ago whispered back, "There's only one way to find out." Part 4. The Moment of Truth. The Riverside Community Center looked bigger than Lisa remembered. Cars filled the parking lot, and people streamed through the front doors carrying folding chairs and programs. Her hands were sweating as she gripped the steering wheel. "You can do this, Mom," Amy said from the back seat. "Yeah, and if you can't, we'll still love you," Jake added with a grin. Lisa laughed, despite her nerves. "Thanks for the vote of confidence, kiddo." They walked through the main doors into chaos. Kids in costumes ran around while their parents chased them with makeup and props. Teenagers in matching outfits practiced dance moves in the hallway. An older man tuned his guitar in the corner. Lisa Thompson? A woman with a clipboard and a headset appeared beside her. "I'm Jennifer. We spoke on the phone." "That's me." Lisa's voice came out as a croak. "Don't look so terrified. You're going to be great. Let me show you backstage." Backstage was actually just a classroom behind the auditorium, but it felt official enough to make Lisa's stomach do more flips. Performers sat around in various states of preparation. A little girl in a tutu practiced pirouettes. Twin boys went over magic tricks. A teenager with purple hair strummed an electric guitar. "You're number 14 on the program," Jennifer explained, handing Lisa a schedule. "That puts you in the second half of the show around 8:30. Lisa looked at the list. Singers, dancers, comedians, musicians. Most of them were under 20, a few were over 60. She seemed to be the only person in the weird middle ground of too old to be discovering talent, too young to be a cute senior citizen act. "Is there anything you need?" Jennifer asked. "Water? A place to warm up?" "I think I just need to find A quiet corner and not throw up. Jennifer laughed. Honey, I've been running this show for 8 years. Half the people here feel exactly the same way. The other half are lying. At 7 p.m., the show started. Lisa could hear the audience clapping and laughing through the thin walls. She peeked through the side door and saw the auditorium packed with people. The Riverside Community Center had folding chairs set up in rows, but people were also standing along the walls and sitting on the floor in front. Holy cow, she whispered. Big crowd tonight, said the teenager with purple hair, appearing beside her. I'm Marcus, by the way. This is my 3rd year doing this. Lisa, this is my 1st year, and probably my last, Marcus laughed. That's what I said 3 years ago. Now I look forward to it all year. There's nothing like getting up there and sharing what you love with people who want to hear it. What if they don't want to hear it? Then they wouldn't have bought tickets and spent their Saturday night here. Everyone in that audience wants you to succeed. Remember that. The first few acts went by in a blur. Lisa watched from the side door as a group of kids did a synchronized dance to a popular song. The audience loved it, clapping along and cheering. An older woman played piano and sang jazz standards. People swayed in their seats. Then disaster struck. Act number 7, a young man with a saxophone, completely froze up. He stood on stage for 30 seconds without making a sound, then ran off crying. Lisa felt sick. If someone who looked confident enough to bring a saxophone could fall apart, what chance did she have? Poor kid, said the little girl in the tutu. That happened to me last year. I forgot my whole routine and just stood there. What did you do? I started crying and then I did the only dance move I could remember. The audience clapped anyway because they felt sorry for me. She grinned. This year I'm doing better because I practiced more and I'm not thinking about messing up. What are you thinking about? How much I love dancing, and how my grandma is in the front row and she's going to be proud of me no matter what happens. Acts 8 through 13 went by faster than Lisa expected. Before she knew it, Jennifer was tapping her on the shoulder. You're up next, honey. How are you feeling? Like I might pass out. Perfect. That means all your energy is ready to come out on stage. Lisa walked to the side of the stage and looked out at the audience. The lights were dimmed, but she could make out faces in the crowd. Families with kids, elderly couples holding hands, teenagers with their phones out. And there, in the 3rd row on the left, she spotted Amy and Jake sitting with their neighbor, Mrs. Chen, who had offered to drive them. Amy saw her looking and gave her a big thumbs up. Jake made a goofy face that made her smile despite her nerves. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next performer, Lisa Thompson. The applause was polite as Lisa walked onto the stage. The spotlight was brighter than she'd expected, and, for a moment, she couldn't see anything beyond the first few rows. She walked to the microphone and adjusted it to her height. Her hands were shaking. Hi everyone, she said, and her voice echoed through the sound system louder than she'd expected. A few people chuckled. I'm Lisa, and I work at Danny's Diner downtown. Some of you probably know me from there. More chuckles. She was starting to relax just a tiny bit. I've never done anything like this before. My daughter actually signed me up without telling me, and when I found out, I almost backed out about 50 times. People were smiling now. She found Amy's face in the crowd, but she told me that everyone deserves a chance to share what makes them happy, and singing makes me happy. So this song is for Amy and Jake, and for anyone who's ever been scared to try something new. The piano player, an elderly man named Robert, started playing the opening notes. Lisa had practiced with him once earlier that week, and he'd been kind and encouraging. She took a deep breath and began to sing. The first few words came out shaky, but by the end of the first verse, her voice found its strength. The song was about resilience, about finding courage when you thought you had none left, about becoming who you were meant to be. As she sang, something magical happened. The audience became completely still. No rustling programs, no whispering, no phones buzzing, just hundreds of people listening to her story told through music. Lisa forgot about the lights and the crowd and her shaking hands. She forgot about being 34 and serving coffee and worrying about bills. She forgot about David's cruel words and her own doubts. She just sang. She sang for every night she'd hummed alone in the empty diner. She sang for every dream she'd been too scared to chase. She sang for Amy's belief in her and Jake's encouragement. She sang for the woman she used to be and the woman she was becoming. When she hit the final note, her voice soared through the auditorium with power she didn't know she possessed. The note hung in the air for what felt like forever. And then there was silence. Complete, total silence. Lisa stood at the microphone, breathing hard, looking out at 500 people who weren't making a sound. Her heart sank. She'd messed up. She'd been too emotional, too dramatic. She'd embarrassed herself just like David said she would. She started to back away from the microphone, ready to run off stage and hide forever. That's when it started. Part 5. The standing ovation. That changes everything. One person stood up. Lisa couldn't see who it was through the bright stage lights, but she heard the chair creak and saw a shadow rise in the middle of the auditorium. Then another person stood. And another. Within seconds, the entire auditorium was on their feet, clapping with an intensity that made the walls shake. The applause wasn't polite or obligatory. It was thunderous, genuine, and it went on and on and on. Lisa stood frozen at the microphone, tears streaming down her face. She'd never heard anything like this. She'd never felt anything like this. People weren't just clapping. They were cheering. Someone whistled. A woman in the front row was wiping her eyes with a tissue. An older man was nodding his head with a huge smile, still clapping as hard as he could. The applause continued for what felt like hours, but was probably closer to 3 minutes. Lisa finally managed to say, "Thank you," into the microphone, which only made people cheer louder. When she finally walked off stage, her legs felt like jelly. Jennifer was waiting in the wings with tears in her own eyes. "Lisa, that was incredible. I've been running this show for 8 years, and I've never heard applause like that." Lisa couldn't speak. She was overwhelmed, exhausted, and more alive than she'd felt in years. "Mom! Mom!" Amy appeared, having somehow snuck backstage. She threw her arms around Lisa's waist. "You were amazing. Everyone was crying. Mrs. Chen said she got chills." Jake was right behind her. "Mom, that was so cool. Did you see how everyone stood up? I recorded some of it on my phone." Lisa hugged her kids tight. "I can't believe I actually did it." "I can," Amy said. "I always knew you could." The rest of the show continued, but Lisa barely paid attention to the other acts. People kept stopping by to congratulate her. Parents thanked her for inspiring their kids. Teenagers asked if she was going to sing anywhere else. But the most surprising visitor came during intermission. "Excuse me, are you Lisa Thompson?" Lisa turned to see a woman in her 50s with short gray hair and kind eyes. "Yes, that's me." "I'm Patricia Williams from WKRV, the radio station downtown. I was wondering if you'd have a few minutes to talk." Lisa's mouth fell open. "The radio station?" "I caught your performance, and I have to say it was extraordinary. We've been looking for local talent to feature on our morning show. Would you be interested in coming in next week to talk about your story and maybe sing a song on air?" I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Amy whispered loudly, making Patricia laugh. "Smart daughter you've got there. Here's my card. Give me a call Monday and we'll set something up." After Patricia left, Lisa stared at the business card like it might disappear. "Mom, you're going to be on the radio!" Jake was practically bouncing. "I guess I am." But that wasn't all. During the final acts of the show, 2 more people approached her. A man named Robert, who ran the Riverside Inn, said they had live music on Friday nights and would love to have her perform. A woman named Carol, who organized the annual summer festival, asked if she'd consider being part of their lineup. By the time the show ended, and they announced the winners, a teenage dance group took first place, which Lisa thought was perfect. Lisa felt like she was living in someone else's life. The drive home was quiet. The kids dozed in the back seat, exhausted from the excitement. Lisa drove through the empty streets thinking about everything that had happened. 3 hours ago, she was a waitress who sang in empty diners. Now she was someone who had stood ovations and radio interviews and actual paying gigs. At home, she tucked the kids into bed and sat in her kitchen with a cup of tea, Patricia's business card on the table in front of her. Her phone buzzed. A text from Maya. Girl, I heard you brought the house down tonight. Can't wait to hear all about it tomorrow. Another text from Jennifer. Lisa, I've had 5 people ask for your contact information already. I think you started something special tonight. Even a message from an unknown number. Hi, this is Marcus from the talent show. You inspired me to keep working on my music. Thank you for showing us what courage looks like. Lisa smiled and put her phone down. She walked to her bedroom and looked at herself in the mirror. She looked the same as she had that morning. Same brown hair, same tired eyes, same lines around her mouth. But something was different. Something had shifted inside her during those 3 minutes on stage. For years she'd defined herself by her limitations. Single mom, struggling waitress, too old, too tired, too late for dreams. But tonight, 500 people had stood up and applauded not for what she did to pay the bills, but for who she truly was. They'd seen something in her that she was just beginning to see in herself. Monday morning came and Lisa called Patricia at the radio station. Lisa, I was hoping you'd call. How does Wednesday at 9 a.m. sound for the interview? It sounds perfect, but I have to ask, what do I say? I'm just a waitress who got lucky one night. Patricia laughed. Honey, luck doesn't make people cry in their seats. Talent does that. Heart does that. You've got both, and now it's time to share them with more people than just one diner. That Wednesday, Lisa found herself in a real radio studio, wearing headphones and sitting across from Patricia at a microphone that reached thousands of people across 3 counties. We're here with Lisa Thompson, the waitress who stunned everyone at Saturday's talent show. Lisa, tell us about that moment when you decided to get up on stage. Lisa took a breath and began her story. She talked about Amy's secret application, about her fears, about finding courage she didn't know she had. Then she sang the same song that had silenced the auditorium, and the phone lines lit up with people calling in to say how moved they were. After the interview, Patricia walked her to her car. Lisa, I've been in radio for 25 years, and I can tell when someone has that special something. You do. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise, including yourself. Over the next few weeks, Lisa's life transformed in ways she never could have imagined. She kept her day job at the diner. Bills still needed to be paid. But she also started singing at the Riverside Inn on Friday nights. The room was packed every week with people driving from other towns to hear the waitress with the amazing voice. 3 months later, she got a call that changed everything. Lisa, this is Tom Richardson from Nashville. I was passing through town and caught your act at the Riverside Inn. I'd like to talk to you about making a demo recording. Nashville recording. Words that seemed impossible just months ago. But the biggest change wasn't the opportunities or the recognition. It was the way Amy and Jake looked at her now. Not just with love, but with pride and admiration. They saw their mother as someone who had dreams and chased them. Someone who showed them that it's never too late to become who you're meant to be. And late at night when the diner was closed and the kids were asleep, Lisa still sang in the quiet darkness. But now she wasn't hiding her voice or keeping it secret. She was practicing. She was preparing. She was becoming. Because she'd learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the biggest risk isn't failing in front of everyone you know. Sometimes the biggest risk is never trying at all. And now, every time she stepped onto a stage, whether it was at the community center, the inn, or someday maybe even in Nashville, she carried with her the memory of that first standing ovation, the sound of 500 people believing in her before she learned to believe in herself. That the applause that changed everything had been just the beginning.